Hi there. We're going to take a deeper dive in our book that we just read, 𝐈𝐴𝐺𝐻𝐻𝐻. In this particular example, this is an example of historical fiction. Now, when we are thinking about historical fiction, we know that it is history, it is based in historical fact, but there is also this element of fiction. Part of it is made up. So whenever we're thinking about historical fiction, we always need to keep in mind that part of it is fiction. So what we're going to be doing today is looking at parts of the story that might be, we could definitely consider to be fact, and what parts are going to be more along the lines of fiction or made up. And how do we know the difference? Some things that we need to consider as we look at any story that is historical fiction, and we want to find, if we're wanting to find out the history in that historical fiction, is we're going to take a look at the author. The author can tell us give us a little bit of information as to, is this going to be more history or is it going to be more fiction? This author is Kate Waters. If you do a quick search about Kate Waters, you will find that she is a prolific author. She's written lots of nonfiction books, so that is in her favor. She knows a lot about writing nonfiction, and she has a lot of nonfiction titles to her name. One thing that we need to consider, though, is we can also discover that she is a white woman. Now, another thing we need to think about as we're looking in nonfiction and historical fiction books is the presence of bias, or the author's perspective, the author's point of view that sometimes gets inserted into some of these stories. Now, as a white woman, she is writing this from the perspective of a Wampanoag indigenous boy. Okay, so there has been a lot of disagreement between experts as to if authors can truly write from a different perspective other than what they know. And I'm going to let you be the judge. As you have listened to this story, I want you, that's one of the things that you can decide for yourself. Did she actually accurately portray not only an indigenous boy from the Wampanoag tribe, but also someone of the opposite gender, a boy, and she's a woman? Did she do that well? And that's going to be your task. And you can have a different perspective or different opinion than someone else, even in your family, as you discuss this. That's okay. So as we go through this book, as you read this book, another thing to keep in mind, so we're looking at for examples of bias or the author's opinion as this is being written. All of the pictures, however, the photographs, were taken at Plymouth Plantation. So we know from the back of this book that she did a lot of research and worked a lot with the people in Plymouth Plantation to get a lot of the historical facts correct. So that is in her favor. So a lot of the pictures are taken, all of the pictures were taken on Plymouth Plantation, where they strive for historical accuracy. So that at least is in this book's favor. As you are reading, though, or as you're rereading this, so we're looking for historical accuracy. Again, making sure that everything is as it would have been during that time. And because she worked so closely with the people there in Plymouth Plantation who are historical reenactors, and they have an entire section that is reenacting the way that people lived at this time, we can be fairly confident that they did a pretty good job. However, does this author show some bias, perhaps? Okay, a quote that maybe you need to think about, maybe you kind of glossed over, but we can take another close look at this, is when it says, when 𝐸𝐴𝐺𝐻𝐻𝐻 is talking with the older gentleman, and he says, We're talking about the land. And he says, there is enough for all people, he says. Okay, would this have been an opinion of somebody from the Wampanoag tribe during this time period? Well, that is difficult to say without talking to someone in the current Wampanoag tribe to see what their feelings would be. It would be a little bit difficult to say. So this might be a subject for debate. Would that be an accurate statement? Would somebody from that tribe at that time, would they have expressed that idea or that sentiment? Or is that something that the author put in there to make everyone feel a little bit better about the conflict between the settlers and the Wampanoag tribe? These are sort of things that we're looking for as we read historical fiction and indeed some nonfiction as well. We need to be aware of these evidences of any kind of bias or author's opinion, but we also need to take a closer, deeper dive and look at what research was done. Is there a lot of historical accuracies? And if there are any biases or inaccuracies, where are they? So I invite you at this time to go ahead and take a deeper dive, take a closer look at 𝐸𝐴𝐻𝐻𝐷 and see what you think.